If you're a fan of novels that involve a hostage situation and just a little bit of intrigue and romance, then today's book just might be for you. Today, I'm looking at Bel Canto by Ann Patchett. Welcome to Spencer Reads Everything. I'm your host, Spencer Duncan, and today we're taking a look at a book that I just recently became aware of because it was on the list of New York Times top 100 books of the 21st century so far. It is number 8 on this list, and it came out in the year 2001, so it just barely made the list in that regard as well. But I found it an absolutely fascinating read. What I didn't know going into this book is that it's actually based on a true story, at least to a certain degree. That's always hard to say, just how much of it's based on true story. They didn't use any of the same names. Matter of fact, one thing you'll notice in the book is they don't ever name the country that they are in. You do know that it's a Spanish-speaking country because the people that are holding people hostage speak Spanish, and there is clearly a reference to the fact that many of the hostage takers are coming from poor communities, and they are obviously representing what you would not think of as the FARC or other kind of independence fighters in South America. That is obvious. However, the book doesn't ever say exactly where they're coming from, and it does not say exactly where it's supposed to take place. But a lot of the other details, from what I can see, are true. Again, though, this is going to be a relatively long time period, and so I feel like the author probably put in a lot of liberties, especially with some of the main characters, but by and large, it was at least inspired by this event that I wasn't aware of. So to give you a quick synopsis of the book, there's quite a few characters in here, and initially they don't have a whole lot of connection to each other. There's just some party being thrown. You know that the main character, I guess, although I don't really know how you'd say the main character, the person that is first introduced, he is some Japanese businessman. You don't know a whole lot about him except that he loves opera, and his love for opera is the one thing that can get him to come to a party celebrating himself. And so some people trying to celebrate his birthday get this opera singer who he loves, some American opera singer, and he of course chooses to go to this party. And it is at this party that there's other big wigs. There's the vice president of the country that they're in, again, the unnamed country. And all of that is an opportunity for this, some kind of guerrilla group to come in and hold everyone at the party hostage. And there doesn't seem to, first of all, there's a big mistake because they're actually there trying to get the president of the country. The president is not there. So the highest ranking person that they can even get is this vice president, although they also realize that this famous opera singer is of some value. And then there are some people of note, wealthy people such as the Japanese businessmen, and all of that is going to be their leverage as they start to hold these people hostage. And of course, they have extreme demands. Essentially, their demand is to let go of a whole bunch of political prisoners and to turn them over. And the government, their response is to not actually be very aggressive. They certainly don't give in to all of the demands. They do give them demands that's like bringing them food, bringing them supplies so that they can survive. But what it does is it also just prolongs this hostage situation. And so it goes on for a couple months. And to my understanding, that's true of the actual situation in which this is based off of. And so really what the novel it is an exploration of the relationship of the individuals that initially don't have anything in common. It's, for starters, language. Few of them speak each other's language. The opera singer is American, and she does not appear to speak any other language. Of course, the Japanese businessman does not appear to speak any other language. The people that have invaded them, Spanish, I don't think is actually their first language, but it is the language that most of them speak. There are some other people at the party that speak Spanish. And so the whole point of the book is to get to know all these different people, and including some of the people that have taken everyone hostage. They are going to make a few arrangements so that the hostage situation can be long-term, so they get rid of actually most of the hostages, most of the women, anyone that's younger. They mostly hold on to just the men of influence and power. And it's just an exploration of what goes on between them, and the types of things that people hold dear and the types of things that people seek opportunities for. Like some of the hostage seekers are going to try and learn to sing. When they hear the opera singer for the first time, they think that it's incredible, and they try to sing. There is a little bit of romance, although that's a little odd. It's not a full-fledged romance, but there's definitely moments of people becoming closer and more connected. And you just have all these explanations of the way people are interacting. And I don't want to create it as a concept of Stockholm Syndrome. It's not like they suddenly fall in love with the people who have taken them hostage. They just build a certain type of relationship, a certain type of rapport, so that people can be more comfortable, even though it's obvious that the demands of the hostage takers are not going to be met. Obviously, the situation ends, and I will let you read that to see exactly how it ends. Or you can go see what happened in real life, and you will, of course, see noticeable parallels between the two. But I think I will leave that up to the reader to find out for themselves exactly how Bel Canto ends. Overall, my assessment of this book was I was fascinated as I was reading. I was very grateful that this was brought to my attention because of the list. I did not know when I was reading that it was based on a real event. So to discover that later and to then go see which parts were inspired were very interesting. I certainly found it an engaging read because, and I love this in books, and so this is just another example of it, but it's an opportunity to explore people's relationships with each other. And I think sometimes that's a little simplistic. We think of like friendships, or we think about romantic relationships. In this case, that's not the type of relationships you're going to be looking at least not by and large. You're looking at all sorts of relationships. You're looking hostage and hostage taker relationships. You're looking between the relationships between a concert pianist and an opera singer, and their relationship between each other, or relationships between translators and the people that are in need of the translation service. So you are seeing all sorts of different types of relationships to be explored, and there is some elements of hope and some elements of fascination, but by and large, it's really just people's relationships developing from a reaction of a situation they're being put in, and I don't know what that would be like. I think that history has taught us that by and large, when people are forced to go through something dramatic and traumatic like that, they tend to form some kind of bond. But I'd also say that that's probably a little too simplistic, and I think this book is trying to examine that and trying to consider it. And so, sure, they certainly feel a certain sense of connectivity, but there are also always those things that are keeping them apart. And I think it's trying to explore that as well. And I found it a very engaging read to consider all those different elements. And I thought that it was something that I would encourage most people to pick up if they think that that appeals to them. So who would I say this book is for? Anyone that is interested in all of those different caveats that I just made about the exploration of relationships in a non-traditional way. And I would say that it is for anyone that is interested in the exploration of people and their interactions when they don't speak the same language, but they might have some other points of shared culture, such as a love for opera, or just the many different ways that people can feel a connection, even if they can't quite understand each other, or the reverse of that, where even if people can understand each other, they're still not going to be on the same side. Obviously, a good example of that would be the people taking the hostages, and of course, of the people that feel like this is counterproductive, or that it is obviously putting their life in danger, and they feel no connection, or they certainly don't feel akin to the people that are taking them hostage, even though they come from the same country and maybe have and have in many regards a shared culture that many of the other people aren't going to have. Who wouldn't I say this is for? Well, despite everything I just said about explaining it, I wouldn't say it's an action-packed book, even though it it is all about a hostage situation. Action is not really part of it. As a matter of fact, I would say that's one of the interesting things about this. It's a hostage situation, which means that there's guns, there's violence, there is some killing, but that being said, there's really not a whole lot of action. There's certainly no protagonist that is trying to save everyone. There is, nobody that you're following along. This isn't, like The Rock, someone trying to get in to save them. That is not how this book goes. You actually, by and large, don't really know much of what's going on outside. That's one of the interesting things, is as this situation is happening, they're almost entirely unaware of what's happening on the outside world. And so that is going to be something that might not interest most people, especially when I just described this book and you're thinking, oh, that sounds like there might be a lot of fun action. Nope, that's not going to be in here. So if that's what you're looking for, this book is not going to be for you. It deals with a lot of different people. So I will tell you now that some people have happier endings than others. And so that is something that you're just going to have to find out when you choose to read the book. So it may not be for you if you're hoping that everyone has a happy ending. I think, again, one of the purposes of the book is to kind of muddle your sense of who would be happy happy, what makes people happy, especially based on their relationships. And so for that reason, this also may not be a book for you. But I would love to hear what you guys thought about this book. I really enjoyed it. I didn't know about it until I read this list. And I will say, as I've gone through the list and been critical of it before, this would be one of the books that I come away grateful that I learned about it and that I gave it a try. But please let me know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and until next time, keep those pages turning.